You know how one bad day can shake you, but you eventually move on? Some people never get that chance to move on, so what happens when the bad days just keep coming?
What is complex PTSD?
Yes, well, the distinction is actually quite important and I think rather misunderstood. A single traumatic event tends to produce fear memories, avoidance, re experiencing, heightened alertness. Distressing, yes, but largely confined to that event and its associations. Repeated or prolonged trauma, however, and particularly when escape is limited, operates on an entirely different level. It doesn't merely leave a memory, it shapes the personality itself. How someone regulates emotion, how they see themselves, how they function in relationships, how they move through daily life. The nervous system, the self concept, the entire relational architecture, all of it adapts around ongoing threat rather than a singular shock. Now, this is not a moral hierarchy. It isn't worse in some judgmental sense. It is simply a different kind of adaptation to a different kind of threat, one that was relentless, relational, and formative. Put simply, one event leaves a scar. Years of threat can reshape the whole person.
What is complex PTSD?
Right, so here's the thing, mate. Your body's got a stress response, yeah? Works a treat for short bursts. Something kicks off, body fires up, you deal with it, body settles back down. That's how it's supposed to go. But when the stress just keeps coming day after day, year after year, the body stops settling. It just stays wound up. Or it goes the other way and completely shuts down, numb, wiped out, checked out. Sometimes it flips between the two. And after long enough, little buddy, that becomes the default. That's just what normal feels like to the body. Calm starts to feel wrong, like something must be about to go sideways. And it shows up everywhere. Tension, pain, gut problems, sleep shot, every little stress hits harder than it should. The body ain't broken. It just got trained by what it lived through. That's the difference right there.
Okay, so, with something that happens once, as awful as that is, there's still a kind of, I don't know, an edge to it? Like, that was the dangerous thing. But when it keeps happening, over and over, especially in places that were supposed to be safe, you stop thinking of danger as a specific event and it just becomes, the way things are? Like, that's just what to expect. And then even ordinary moments start feeling like they could be traps because, I mean, they were, weren't they? Normal moments turned dangerous before. So now you're scanning all the time, watching for signs, and if someone gets close, or a choice appears, or something feels uncertain, the whole system goes, oh no, here we go again! And trying to control things, or avoid being vulnerable, or just freezing, that's not overreacting. That's what made sense for a really long time. That's the terrifying part, I think.
What is complex PTSD?
Oh, sweetheart, this is the part that just breaks my heart a little because so often, when trauma happens again and again, it happens inside relationships, doesn't it? In families or with people someone depended on. And so the very thing we all need, closeness, safety, being cared for, becomes all tangled up with pain. And then later, in healthy relationships, we carry all of that in with us. Someone might find themselves drawn to what feels familiar, even if it isn't kind, because that's what love looked like for a long time. Or they pull away from people who actually care about them because getting close feels dangerous. The need to be accepted and the fear of being hurt, they pull in opposite directions, dear, and that creates these painful cycles that are so hard to break. It's not that connection doesn't matter anymore. It's that it matters so much, and it's felt so risky for so long.
Oh, baby, let me tell you something. When you are just trying to survive for a long time, day after day, you don't really get to ask yourself who you are. You're too busy figuring out how to get through. And so after a while, that sense of self, that real you underneath all the coping, it gets lost or fragmented or buried so deep you don't even know where to find it. And feelings? Those don't just disappear, honey. They come out sideways as anger, as shutting down, as bending yourself into whatever shape keeps you safe in the room. Because somewhere along the way, feeling things directly had consequences, so you learn not to. And then healing, sweetie, that ain't just about processing what happened. It's about building something that maybe never fully existed in the first place. Finding your voice, your story, figuring out who you actually are when you're not just surviving. That's the real work.
What is complex PTSD?
My child, a single storm passes and leaves its mark upon the earth.
But when the storms come season after season, year after year, the land itself changes shape around them. That is what prolonged and repeated trauma does. It is not only a memory the mind holds, it becomes the ground a person stands on. The body learns to stay ready. The heart learns to expect harm where it once hoped for safety. The sense of who one is gets built around endurance rather than ease. And so what looks from the outside like difficulty, the guarded heart, the frayed nerves, the restless vigilance, is something much older and more faithful than that. It is a person who learned over time exactly what the world required of them to survive. The question is never what is wrong with someone who carries all of this. The question is what they had to become and whether they have yet been given enough safety to slowly, quietly begin to be something more.
If you made it this far, you're gonna want to see what comes next. Hit subscribe so you don't miss our next video, and click the video on screen now to keep learning more. See you in the next video.